Welcome to The Community Effect, the podcast where we explore the intersection of community development, affordable housing, and the impact it has on us all. We'll uncover the blueprint for building thriving communities, one story at a time.
Welcome back to The Community Effect. I'm Marietta Rodriguez, your host, and the president and CEO of NeighborWorks America. Homeownership is more than just owning a house. It's about building equity, creating stability, and investing in the future. But for far too many, the dream of homeownership feels as though it's simply out of reach. In this episode, we're exploring the challenges and opportunities surrounding homeownership and how the NeighborWorks network organizations are working to make this dream a reality, one person at a time. Joining us from Housing Resources, Inc. in Milwaukee, Wisconsin are Trina Bond, Executive Director, and LaWanda Chambers, Board Vice President. They'll share their personal journeys and insights on how homeownership can transform lives and strengthen communities. Trina and LaWanda, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Marietta. I'm happy to be here.
Likewise, very happy to be here too, Marietta.
LaWanda, let's start with you. I know you went through the homeownership program with Housing Resources at just 26 years old. That sounds very much like my story. I did the same thing when I was 26. I thought it was insane. My father signed me up for a homebuyer ed class because he thought I should not waste my money on concert tickets and shoes. I went, but thought it was completely out of reach for me. But tell us a little bit about your story. What motivated you to take that step?
It wasn't necessarily my dad or a parent pushing me. It was more so the realization that I became the matriarch of my family at a very young age. My mother was very focused as we moved to Milwaukee, and she suffered a mental health crisis, which really pushed me into a position of leadership. So with that newfound responsibility and having to also take care of my family who has some disabilities, it really put things into perspective around money. I was the only person working in my family. We paid $1,500 a month for rent for a duplex. It just wasn't cost effective anymore because I was getting some education in the community like, hey, my mortgage is $700 or $1,000 or $1,200. And I'm like, I'm paying $1,500. What? And they're like, yeah, I've been paying this for 20 years. And so that kind of sparked a light bulb in my mind to say, you've been doing this all of this time, this same way, thinking that this is the way you're supposed to do it. And there's so many other ways you can live.
How did you find your way to Housing Resources?
Talking to some community mentors, they were explaining to me, LaWanda, if you're going to buy a home, this is the time to buy it because you're going back to school. And if you take out more money, your DTI is going to be affected. So got over to HRI and they confirmed what I had already been told through the education program. And it was very important information. It allowed me to default on my loan and say, no, I don't want this loan right now, and pursue the loan after I closed on my house. So it was great to get that piece of information from the community, come to HRI, take the class, and then to confirm that and allow me to proceed and close on my house on time and go back to school. So it's a win-win.
You mentioned DTI, the debt to income ratio. So the proportion of debt versus how much income you're bringing in can be a really deciding factor on how much you can borrow to buy a house. And I'm assuming that was your case.
Absolutely.
Trina, from your perspective, why is it so important to have programs and services and organizations like Housing Resources, Inc. helping people navigate the home buying process?
It's important because it can be a confusing process for people. So HRI and organizations like Housing Resources, Inc. help buyers to understand the process of purchasing a home by walking them through a step-by-step program, what, different mortgage terms mean, what to expect as new buyers, and also provide them with the assistance and down payment that they may need to purchase their homes. So we're the client's advocates. We help them to make sure they can get, the best rate. They understand the importance of correcting their credit and how that will help them get a better interest rate. We talk to them about their debt to income ratios and, don't go buy a car right now. If your priority is to purchase a home, it's important that buyers understand those things because it'll ensure that they can get in the home and stay in the home.
If someone is interested in buying a home, what can they expect? What does that homebuyer education look like?
What they can expect is to have someone from Housing Resources Inc.'s team there to talk to them about the credit, budgeting, give them an overall view from that perspective, as well as have mortgage industry professionals, a realtor, lender, home inspector actually there to talk to the buyers and tell them what to expect from their end and their role in the process. And additionally, we talk about some down payment assistance as well that is available to first time buyers. So it's a really detailed overview of the home purchase process.
And Lawanda, how did HRA help guide you through your process?
Oh my God, Marietta, I thought you'd never ask. I'm sitting here listening to Trina talk about it, but I'm thinking about it from my experience. And that's exactly what the program set out to do. And I would even say, Trina, that they go above and beyond. The education that they provided me allows me to have a conversation with you all today and use the industry terms and say DTI, not knowing, okay, other people don't know what DTI is, debt to income, right? We need to explain that. So that shows you I was able to not only get the information, understand the information, know how to speak about it, and not only purchase my home, but stay in my home because those terms and the things that I've learned in that program were transferable in other areas of my life as I made financial decisions.
That's really helpful. And I wanted to ask you to reflect a little bit about before you bought and you were paying the $1,500 in rent versus after you purchased your home and moved. How did buying a home impact your life or change your perspective?
Mm. For me, renting, I was in survival mode. Owning, I'm not in survival mode anymore. I'm living because I am free from the thought processes that go into living in a home where your landlord isn't visible, isn't helping, right? So owning my home has provided me stability, safety, security. It provides my family with stable, predictable environment. We've been in our home now 7 years, October 6th, and we have over $200,000 in equity in our home now, something that I can use to leverage other things that I want to accomplish with my current business. So it's been a full circle moment and one I still pinch myself to this day.
Your story is inspiring and it gives me goosebumps. Thank you for sharing a little bit of your story. Trina, I can only imagine that you and your staff see stories like Lawanda's often, that where homeownership changes people's lives and it doesn't just change their individual lives, it can change the trajectory of that family.
Marietta, I like to say home ownership opens up possibilities. I've seen at least two cases just recently where one is Lisa and the other one is Shay. And these powerful women, they purchased their homes through Housing Resources Inc. And then they were able to build a real estate business from that. One works for a company, the other one was working for a company, and she's gone out on her own now. She's doing real estate investing, and creating generational wealth. So that is our ultimate goal for people.
It's so important. I hear so many stories of young people who think that home buying is out of their reach. And I know that work that's happening within the NeighborWorks network all across the country is making those possibilities and those opportunities real. LaWanda, I heard that you had a recent appearance on the Jennifer Hudson show where you mentioned some of the challenges, particularly of Black and Brown communities, what they face when they're trying to purchase a home and may face discrimination or redlining. Tell us about your experience on the show.
Thinking about that experience, still to this day, I am still in disbelief. And it came at such a pivotal time in my life because I was dealing with some personal issues. And that was something that was like the rainbow at the end of the storm. And so that was a perfect way for me to hit the reset button. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Jennifer and I are both from the same part of Chicago. So that made it even more epic to be able to see some of the products of Chicago and seeing us doing well, knowing that that city is very challenging. We have so many obstacles in Chicago.
And I understand that they were so moved by your story that Jennifer made a financial contribution into Housing Resources Inc. to assure that the services and programs that you all provide can be made even more accessible to borrowers.
I didn't know that was going to happen. I was very blessed, very pleased to be able to be there on behalf of the agency. I mean, we literally work around the clock to help the community. Trina is the hardest working woman I know, and I'm very, very proud to be under her leadership because she cares and it shows.
And it shows. Trina, what do you think some of the biggest barriers that people face when it comes to homeownership? And how does your organization help address those barriers?
Well, right now, the biggest barriers that we're seeing they remain credit because we're working with some of the most lower income people, as well as right now the housing inventory. So what we do is for people that want to purchase a home, we work with them to correct their credit, teach them tips and techniques that they can use to improve their credit. If their priority is to own a home, then they'll work towards doing what they need to do to correct credit, start a budgeting plan, start saving. So we work on that. And we offer down payment assistance resources to first time buyers to help them bridge that gap. So that's what we're doing to help people overcome those barriers to homeownership.
I know that your approach has not been one of working in a silo. I think one of the hallmarks that I know about Housing Resources Inc. is your ability to work with a diverse set of partners and across sectors. Tell us a little bit about some of your more innovative collaborations and partnerships. I know you have one with the University of Wisconsin Credit Union.
Well, what drives those partnerships is our desire to continue to help buyers purchase and owners keep their homes. The partnership with UW Credit Union, they've chosen us to receive funding through their partnership with the Milwaukee Brewers so that every game that they won at home, we'd receive $250. The last count that we were at was $10,750. So
Imagine if we could take that model throughout the MBA, the kind of
yes.
impact that could have. Um, LaWanda, legacy is really coming to mind when I think about your experience and your contributions on the board. And I know you've spoken a little bit about your personal story and how mental health advocacy and housing initiatives are important to you and your family. And your volunteer work with HRI really is bringing both of those passions together. Is that how you think about community work? And what would you like the next 5 years of your community work to look like?
I envision community work with no boundaries. So I'm a person that's really good at seeing where services need to exist. For example, mental health plays a huge role in any financial decisions that we make. So one thing I've been doing to partner with HRI and send my clients to HRI for home ownership. I've also been working a great deal on policy, and I've been working in advocacy too. Because again, the game is not to just purchase a home, it's to stay in a home. And that takes a lot of mental servitude to know how to be less impulsive and to get that help that you need so that you can stay in your home and pass that home down. So for me, it's about advocacy, it's about integration, partnering, and building those collaboratives. Integration can happen seamlessly where we're no longer in silos and everybody can come to the table and do their part.
I love that vision. Thank you. Trina, I wonder how you would answer that. What does the future look like for HRI? I know that you've expanded some geography.
Mhm.
What else do you have on your horizon?
Well, hopefully a new space is on our horizon because we're outgrowing our old. As far as our expansion, those expansions were done strategically. Of course, everyone wants a Housing Resources Inc. in their city.
Of course.
So we have to, be careful, when looking at those opportunities. We have great board members, as you can see here from Lawanda, and them helping us shape the future of Housing Resources Inc. is what I'm looking forward to see what areas, we can expand it to help buyers purchase and homeowners keep their homes.
Trina, I know that you've talked about this, but you support the home buyer through the process, but you also support them post purchase. What are some of the support services HR offers even after the home buying process is complete?
We provide post-purchase education. So that consists of classes that talk to the homeowner about the responsibilities of homeownership, paying their taxes on time, and talking about some seasonal maintenance that they're going to be expected to do. The landlord isn't there anymore, so this is all on you. We also do one-on-one counseling. So if someone, for example, if they have a credit issue after they purchase, then that's something that we can work through with the post-purchase counseling. Foreclosure prevention. For some reason they get behind on the mortgage, we can help them work with their mortgage company to become current. And we also have a tool loan center here in Milwaukee where we actually loan tools out to homeowners that want to do their own home repairs and do how-to classes at that center as well. So it's a very comprehensive wraparound approach that we have with the services that we provide.
That's tremendous. Thank you. I know for me, becoming a homeowner impacted me in a way that I knew if I could manage to maintain the home, I always had a safe place to live. And that provided a tremendous amount of security for me. Lawanda, how did becoming a homeowner impact your life and give you a sense of stability?
Oh my God. It impacted my life in such profound way. Started the program as a master student, and now I'm a master level clinician who has just started my doctoral program. I'm also now about to I already sit on the governor appointed committee for SCAOTA, but I have just applied to be on the governor's board for SCAOTA. And what we do in the SCAOTA committee is we help to ensure that everyone in Wisconsin, as it relates to drugs and alcohol, are receiving equitable services. And so I'm advocating for those, again, those cracks, those places where people aren't usually visible or willing to be visible. I'm right in those wedges. Since this program, I've been able to identify my number one skill set is executing, which has allowed me to have the space and the ability to think about things outside of my day-to-day struggles, which I was always a challenge when I was renting. Something would be broken. That would affect my mother's health. Now that we're in our home, my mom doesn't have to worry. She has peace and quiet. She can go and walk down the path in our neighborhood and get fresh air. And I just remodeled for the first time. I painted my walls. I refinished my floors, but I wouldn't have been able to do that had I not understood the importance of saving.
Lawanda, what was your biggest takeaway when you took that homebuyer class?
I would say for me, really zeroing in on that debt to income ratio, understanding that and the behaviors that are associated with that, what Trina mentioned earlier, You don't want to buy a new car right now, even though you really, really want that new car, because they're going to be watching everything that you do to see how responsible you are. And so that helped me then. And it even helped me now when I pursued a business credit line for my business. They were so impressed with my statements, and they were impressed because of the skills that I learned over at HRI.
That's great. Trina, let me ask you, how does Housing Resources Inc. help people who may not be ready to buy today, but they want to buy a house? How do you all help people get their financial house in order before they become mortgage ready?
Well, the first thing is have them attend our home buyer education workshops, because those workshops actually give them an overview of the home buying process as well as motivate people to act, to start the process of, correcting credit and getting their financial house in order. Once they complete those workshops, then they can come in and meet with one of our housing counselors who review their individual situation, review their credit report, and come up with an action plan for each person that comes in based on, the barriers that we identified for them. And then we work with them through follow-up appointments, one-on-one, to address those barriers. So if it's you need to save this amount, first we go over a budget with them and identify areas where there may be some overspending and identify maybe some money that's available that they can save. Then we can come up with the savings plan. We review the credit to talk to them about, what they need to address there, whether it's pay off some old debt that's on there. So we really walk them through the process. We're their guide and advocate.
What a tremendous service. We keep hearing and reading in the news that homeownership is getting more and more out of reach. It sounds like HRI has built some services and programs that respond to what's happening in the Milwaukee market. What more do you need, Trina?
If we could wave a magic wand, we do need more inventory, because we do see that lower income homeownership is nearly out of reach for them. There is some inventory here, but there's not enough for the demand. So we see higher prices than had been in the past. So again, that down payment assistance can help bridge the gap for many, but not all. The other thing that we do is identify programs here locally that can help buyers to purchase, such as our Section 8 homeownership program. And some people, they may have Section 8, but they may not understand that they can use their actual Section 8 voucher to purchase their home. So we help with that as well.
Trina, what's the one thing you wish more people knew about Housing Resources Inc. or about the home buying process?
I wish they knew how passionate my team is and I. Our number one goal is to provide superior customer service to our buyers, because as I tell my team all the time, our buyers are us. They're us. We all were in their shoes at one point.
LaWanda, if you could give someone maybe listening to this podcast one piece of advice if they were interested in buying a home but felt like it was out of reach, what would you tell them?
I would tell them this: start small. And remember that home ownership is a journey. Don't let this process intimidate you. There are organizations like Housing Resources that are here to help you and will provide you with those step-by-step directions. We will educate you. We will go above and beyond. I would tell them to educate themselves about this process, save when they could, and not to be afraid to ask questions. It is okay to ask for help. It is okay to not know what to do. You will do the work to accomplish it. Is it something that you really want to do? So in closing, to know that why and to hold on to that why. Home ownership is going to be achievable if you have that mindset, because the right tools already exist in the community, and it can lead to stability and new opportunities in their life.
That's beautiful. Thank you, LaWanda and Trina, for sharing a little bit of your work, your inspiring stories. We're so grateful for all of the work that you do. Homeownership is truly a pathway to stability and opportunity, and your work is making a huge difference in so many lives. For our listeners, if you'd like to learn more about Housing Resources, Inc. or how to start your own journey towards homeownership, be sure to check out the show notes for more information and resources. Remember, the community effect is about empowering people, fostering connections, and creating places where everyone can thrive. We hope this podcast can be one of those places for you. Until next time, this is The Community Effect.